You know, some books are famous, and then some are infamous. For over a century, one particular text has whispered from the darkest corners of occult lore, promising unbelievable power, but also threatening madness to anyone who even dared to open it. So today, we are going to dive into the legendary Book of Abramelin and the wild story of how everything we thought we knew about it was just plain wrong. Okay, let's get into it. So that's a quote from the modern occultist Lon Milo Duquette, talking about the first time he ever saw this book, way back in 1976. And you gotta understand, he wasn't alone in feeling this way. This thing wasn't just some dusty old book of spells. It had a reputation that could make even the most seasoned experts a little nervous.
So what was the deal here? Why was this book so feared? Well, for more than 100 years, the version everyone knew came from just one English translation. And man, it painted a really, really dark picture.
Okay, so the legend basically went like this. It was a sorcerer's handbook, a guide so powerful that people thought just owning a copy was a bad idea. The rumors were that it held the actual secrets to conquering all the world's evil spirits. And look, this wasn't just some campfire story. Major figures in the world of Western magic treated it with this mix of total terror and awe, believing it held the key to world-altering power. Okay, but here is the twist, and it's a big one. The book that built this terrifying reputation, the one that caused all this supernatural drama, it wasn't even the real deal. Not even close. It was a deeply flawed, incomplete, and seriously misleading translation. And that's really the question we have to ask. What if this thing that scared everyone, this source of fascination, was based on a text that was, basically broken? Turns out that's exactly what was going on. So, the famous English version everyone knew, it was published back in 1893 by a guy named Samuel L. MacGregor Mathers. A huge name, one of the founders of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. But here's the thing, he wasn't working from the original German manuscripts that Abraham of Worms wrote. Nope, he used a much later French copy from the 1700s, a copy that was, and I'm quoting here, woefully incomplete and doubtful. It's like the ultimate game of telephone, and the original message got completely scrambled. And when you actually put the two versions side by side, wow. The differences are just staggering. Think about this. The famous Mathers version says the ritual takes 6 months. The real one, 18 months. A full year and a half. The original has 4 books. The old one only had 3. And those magic squares, the most famous part, the original has more of them, and they actually make sense. They're complete. So the book that shaped Western magic for 100 years was missing a full year of ritual work and a whole book of instructions. That's insane. You know, the story of this book, it's really the story of 2 incredible journeys, separated by more than 500 years. One was the author's quest to find the wisdom, and the other was a modern editor's quest to find the author's true words. So on one hand, you have the author himself, Abraham of Worms. We're talking about a 15th century German Jew who travels all over the known world, all the way to Egypt, just desperate to find true magical wisdom. Then, fast forward centuries, it's 1980, and a German editor named George Dehn starts his own quest, a 20-year academic treasure hunt, digging through archives, trying to find and piece together the original German text that Abraham wrote. This timeline really lays it all out. It's that historical game of telephone I mentioned. The original text from the 1400s just disappears. It gets replaced by a bad copy in the 1700s, and that bad copy becomes the foundation for the famous English version in 1893. It literally took until 2006 for the full, complete, real book to finally be published in English. So you might be asking, okay, if the original book isn't just about commanding demons, then what is it about? Well, the restored text shows us the goal is something else entirely. It's a deep, incredibly demanding spiritual journey. The whole system, I mean all of it, is focused on one single goal: to achieve what the book calls knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel. And this isn't just some angel from a choir. It's described as this divine being that's uniquely connected to you, like a personal soulmate on a cosmic level. The point isn't getting power over the world, it's about achieving union with this higher part of your own self. 18. Just let that sink in for a second. 18 months. That is how long the real ritual takes. This is not a weekend workshop, you know? It's a total reboot of your entire life. It demands a level of commitment that was just completely lost in that old 6-month version. And the path itself is super structured. It kicks off with 6 months of serious purification, prayer, changing your whole lifestyle. Then you've got another 6 months of building on that, intensifying your focus. Only in that final 6-month stretch do you even approach the climax. But here's the absolute key. Commanding spirits, that's the very, very last thing you do. It's something you're only allowed to try after you've successfully connected with the angel. It's a safety precaution, really. All right, so now that we have the real deal, we can finally look at the whole system the way Abraham laid it out. And it's all split into 4 distinct books. So the complete text has 4 main sections. You've got Book 1, which is all about Abraham's own story and the ethics behind the work. Book 2 is a bunch of practical, kind of folk magic type stuff. Book 3, that's the big one, the sacred 18-month ritual itself. And then there's Book 4, the part that was totally missing from the old version, and it's filled with the famous magic squares. They're like the fruit of the whole operation. So Book 1 is basically Abraham's autobiography. He's writing to his son, telling him about his travels, his search for a real teacher, and he's warning him about all the fake magic out there. It really sets the moral foundation for everything that comes next. Then you get to Book 2, which is this collection of simpler spells and charms, for things like love or health or protection. But Abraham is super clear about this. This stuff is secondary. It's useful folk magic, maybe, but it is not the main event. Okay, Book 3. This is the absolute heart of the entire work. This is where you find the nitty-gritty, step-by-step instructions for that massive 18-month operation. And the text itself really hammers home the importance of having the right mindset. This isn't for kicks or for selfish reasons. It's about praising God and helping people. And that finally brings us to the missing piece of the puzzle, Book 4. These are those legendary magic squares, the tools that let you create these incredible effects. But, and this is so important, they are the result of the magic, not the source of it. You're only supposed to use them after you've made contact with your angel. Trying to use them before that, well, that was the huge, dangerous mistake the old translation led people to make. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's wild. The old Mather's edition had 242 squares, right? But get this, more than 2/3 of them were basically empty or had misspelled words. They were gibberish. The actual German original, it has 251 squares, and every single one is complete and correct. It wasn't just a typo. The most famous part of the book was fundamentally broken and unusable. So really, what this all boils down to is this. Finding the real Book of Abramelin completely changes what it is. It goes from being this feared textbook of black magic to something totally different. It's not a shortcut to power. It's a detailed, incredibly demanding, lifelong journey of self-discovery. And it's kind of perfect that the same guy, Lon Milo Duquette, who we heard from at the beginning, the one whose hand literally shook when he first touched the old version, he had this to say about the new, complete translation. He calls it an elegant and accurate guide to self-realization and self-initiation. You can hear it right there. The fear is gone. It's been replaced by a deep respect. So in the end, the story of this book really makes you think, doesn't it? It forces us to ask what we're actually searching for. Are we looking for a quick shortcut to power over the world? Or are we brave enough to take the harder, much longer path to understanding ourselves? And maybe the biggest question of all is, why? In our crazy modern world, why does this ancient secret piece of wisdom still speak to us so powerfully today?